All right, here we go. We are live. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a day or two. Welcome to my channel, We Love Comics. Today I'm going to show, well, I got my usual two videos when I do this, so there'll be one right after this video. That will be, you'll have to refresh and check my page again because it won't be on this particular line. I'll end this one and start another one within 5 minutes. But this is the first of the two videos today. The first, I always do the 4 PGX books I'm sending in to get graded this month. As usual, for those who have never been here before or never saw my content, I tried to make a deal years ago with CGC, CBCS, and PGX. PGX was the only one that replied. And I basically said to the companies, you know, if I could do some advertisement for you, would I be able to get a couple of comics graded for free? Like I said, both CBCS and CGS didn't even, CGC never even responded. PGX at the time was the only one that did it. And they allow me to send in 4 comics every month. I've been doing this now for 6+ years, where I can get them pressed, dry cleaned, signature verification if it needs them. Graded, of course, with the grader's notes added to the back of the slab. PGX is the only one that does that, and it was per my recommendation, so I love the fact that they actually listen to their customer base. So I get those 4 each month. Benefit for them, of course, they get free advertisement and hopefully some business. But I also want to make sure there was a benefit for you all as well. So if you've never tried PGX before, what I recommend, don't go by what the communities say, because, I mean, unfortunately, communities these days are based just on financial gain for the most part. Of course, there's always exceptions to every rule. But if you've never experienced PGX before and you want to give them a try, the incentive here is if you send 10 or more books to PGX and use the code We Love Comics Free Press, they will press one of the books for free. I always recommend people specify which one they want pressed if they have a preference. Otherwise, they'll just randomly pick one. But that could be anywhere from a $15 to $30 value, depending on the book and the value of that book that you send in. So take advantage of that while you can. And like I said, they can add the grader's notes directly onto the back of the slab. That was my idea. I wish all the companies would do it, but PGX is the only one that does it as far as adding it to the slab. So if you use the code We Love Comics Grader's Notes for $5 per slab, you can have the grader's notes placed on the back of the slab, which just makes it easier. You know, if you ever want to trade or sell them later on, you don't have to have anybody look up a grader's notes and maybe find out they're not even there. You have them right on the actual slab. So take advantage of those if you want. I put the link in the description of this video, so contact PGX and give them a try if you haven't. And I also posted a link that I have my comic book mystery boxes for sale. It's a package of 20 condoms. No, we don't sell condoms here. Don't ask me why I said that, especially when I'm married. But 20 comics that range from a basic package, which is just, you know, generic comics for $25, up to a platinum package for $5,000, where you're getting, you know, you're getting key issues. You're not getting generic comics, and lots of other ones in between. So if you want to try it out, check out the link. It's also in the description, but I posted it in the live chat. And if you look on the bottom of the AI art, which, by the way, I always love to hear people's opinion about my AI art. The theme, if you ever noticed, is when I do the PGX books, I always do 4 of something. And with the EGS, that'll be right after this video, coming up in a separate video, I always do an image of 2 things, because I'm allowed 2 books to be sent in. So if you look on the bottom of the screen, you'll see comics going by like Tales of Suspense 39, All-Star Comics number 8, many others if you watch it scroll. Those are books I'm looking to acquire, but I would like to acquire them via trade. So I'm going to keep at it until it happens. I do not give up. So it's not a matter of if it'll happen, but when it'll happen. So if you know of anybody, or you happen to have one of those books or more, and you'd like to do a trade with me, check out the video I did back in November of about 30 to 35 all graded comics that I think like 98% of them were graded by me, so you don't have to worry about switcheroo kind of stuff. If you see any of them to make the trade happen, please contact me at peacefulfeelings@yahoo.com. All right, so with all that out of the way, we got Pino in the live chat. We got Logan Maverick says, hey, Chris, is there a website where I can see how comic book graders get their standards for grading? If you actually go on each individual grading company site, they pretty much will tell you. Because I know PGX and both PGX and EGS use the Overstreet price guide as their guidelines. But I do believe if you go on individual websites from CBCS, CGC, and all them, they actually list it, or at least give you a... I know CGC for a fact does a breakdown of what they consider like a 9.8. Basically, it should say, you know, if somebody sends in 100 of the same book and will pay through the nose for it, we'll give you a 9.8 or 9.9. But that's a story for another time. But yeah, check in the individual sites of each company and they should be able to tell you. And we got Brian Norman in the house. Says, hey Chris, as usual watching from work. Did you hear about CGC now doing verified signatures? Yeah, I just heard about that. What a shocker. So now they have another way to just get people to, you know, ram money down their throat. You know, hey, more power to them. I hope they will be on the straight and narrow with it. I hope they will do the right thing and not just verify every single signature that comes their way. I'm sure there'll be people that will test that theory out. But if anything, I mean, I'll be honest. If they do verify signatures and they do it correctly, then it's just going to help the community. So, you know, like I've always said, I'm not a CGC hater. I just don't like what some of the things they're allowed to get away with that hurt the overall community. But I think if they're going to do verified signatures, that is a good thing. Because if there are people who, for whatever reason, want to send their books to CGC, and they're allowed to, whether you agree with what's going on or not, people have the right to do what they want. If that gives their customer base another option to send to that company instead of another, then I say it's a good thing. So I hope they do the right thing and start cleaning up a mess that many people in the community seem to want to give them a free pass on. So if you want to join the live chat, please do. You don't have to be a subscriber, and I do a surprise subscriber shout out at the end of every video. So let's put on the video camera. I'll show the 4 books I'm sending in this month. The any special things about the book. Obviously, I only collect pretty much key issues or books that are signed by, you know, somebody like Stan Lee who you can't get signatures for anymore. But I'll tell you what I paid for them, which includes shipping and handling and any other fees. And I'll give my predictions of the grades. Now, always keep in mind, my predictions are based on what I think the grades will be after a pressing and dry cleaning. Because a lot of the books I send in have pressable defects. And in my opinion, from my experience of working with PGX for over 6 years now, which, by the way, I do not get paid by them. I do not have a contract signed. So I am under no obligation or have ever been required to say anything other than my own shared experience. Daniel Patterson, the owner of PGX, has never contacted me in these 6 years and said, well, you shouldn't say that, or how about you say this, or we want you to plug this. He's given me free range, and I appreciate that. So let's go over the books. Now, this one, it's going to look like there's 2 pieces that are torn off, but it's actually on, somebody must have peeled some stickers on the bag, so that's not part of the comic. So first book I'm sending in, I got this about a month or 2 ago. Of course, this is Werewolf by Night number 32. First appearance of the Moon Knight. I think this book has hit rock bottom. Now, of course, you can always find deals, so I'm talking average-wise, because I've shown many and time again that incredible deals can be found on books. This is one I made a deal happen and paid $499.74 for this book. The seller said they assume it's about a 6.5. I would agree, but I always like to give a little bit higher range because it does have, you know, 1 or 2 pressable defects. So, of course, getting it pressed can fix that and raise the grade a little. Excuse me. So I'm going to say probably between a 6.0 and a 7.0. So if it ends up a 6.5, they were right, and I'm right in the middle. So for me, paying $499.74 for a book that should be about a 6.5, could be a 6, could be a 7, who knows? Definitely a great deal on this book. You know, Werewolf by Night is coming back to the MCU. I think, in my opinion, of all of the Disney Plus TV shows, and some of them are just, I couldn't even bear watching because I don't even subscribe to Disney Plus anymore. Werewolf by Night was decent. It had its moments, but I think overall, in my opinion, I and my wife enjoyed the series because they didn't overdo some of the stuff. And I hope if they get rid of that little bit and do what Moon Knight could have the capability of doing, I think this is just going to continue to grow and this character will be utilized. I just think this is, in my opinion, a undervalued book at this point and has a lot of room to grow. Now, of course, anything can happen and there are no guarantees, but I like to go with the odds. You know, if you had odds on this, do you think the odds are greater that this book is going to continue to go down, that's just going to stay stagnant, or do you think it has the potential of rising? You know, remember, when it comes to investments, there's always going to be, you know, peaks and valleys. The idea is you sell at the peaks and buy at the valleys. Sometimes people, when they see prices going down, they start getting greedy and they keep saying, well, I'll wait until tomorrow when it gets a little lower. Then if it does go a little lower, they're like, oh, I'll wait again. And sometimes they end up waiting so long that they miss out on the opportunity. So my thing is, don't be a bottom feeder. Don't try and call the bottom because you might miss it and then miss out on an opportunity. Sometimes you're going to overspend a little bit and another price drop might happen. But in the grand scheme of things, if you spent $50 more than what the absolute bottom average was, and the book goes up $500 in that process later on, do you really care about the extra $50 that you spent? So instead of making a $500 profit, you made a $450. So be very careful what some people do, where they see the prices dropping, and they're like, I'm just going to wait until it drops a little bit more, then a little bit more. And they miss the opportunity because all of a sudden it'll hit that point where people see it as a buying opportunity, like I and few other people have seen. They'll start buying them up, which will level out the price, and then you'll start seeing it rise again. And then when you see a trailer or something with Moon Knight in it, it's just going to bring back the popularity. And you know how most people invest. They invest with emotions and follow what everybody else does. So if you want to be a smart investor, you want to get these things before those things happen and before the crowds tune in on something so you can get the deals. Because if this comes back even a 6.0 for the price I paid for it, absolutely going to be worth it for me. GTK Comics says, Chris, again, great advice on picking up the Green Label CGCs after the announcement. They're going to go fast on eBay. Yeah, and I still have a bunch of them. I mean, I remember, to me it was a no-brainer. I remember getting my Invincible #1 first print. It was a CGC 9.8 signed by Robert Kirkman. But because it had a green label, because the person sent it to CGC, at the time I bought it, the value of that book was around $900. But because it was a green label that nobody would touch, I bought it for about $450. That book now is about a $4,000 to $5,000 book. And all I had to do was, because it was already graded a CGC 9.8, it's just because they didn't verify signatures, no one would touch it. And I knew that was a perfect opportunity. Turned around, sent it in to CGC, sent in the CGC label with it, and it came back still a 9.8, because it was originally a CGC 9.8, but now they had a verified signature. And I have a bunch of them. I'll show you one real quick, just to show. Soon that I'll be sending in to get graded. I paid $365 for this book about a year or two ago. And it's another green label CGC 9.8. This is the actual first appearance of Gambit. Signed by Art Adams, but because it was sent in already signed to CGC, it came back as Art Adams written on cover. So all I have to do is crack this open. I can send in the label, and I'll most likely get a 9.8 again, but now a signature verification instead of a green label. And I paid $365.50 for this book. I have many other examples of that. It just blows my mind. I think I did that with a Ultimate Fallout 4. There's a couple of other books, but yeah, to me it was a no-brainer. And I'm glad GTK Comic, because I saw your comment, and I really appreciate that, because I don't get a lot of credit in this quote-unquote community. But I've been, if you look at my videos over the years of my recommendations, I've been right time and time again. I don't understand why people don't give me any credit or don't listen for the most part, but hey, the few that have over the years have told me how successful their collections have been taking my advice, because I pay attention to things. I don't focus on biases. I don't focus on emotion. I don't follow trends. I base it on, if I was working for Hollywood and Hollywood is working a certain way at this time, where would I go if I were them? Not thinking my hopes and dreams and wishes, but thinking the way they were thinking. And that's why I knew Ultimate Fallout 4s were going to be successful. Edge of Spider-Verse 2. All these other kind of books, because I can see the writing on the wall. And for me, when it came to CGC green labels that were just because somebody sent it in to the wrong company because they did not do the signature verifications, if you can get a book for half price, crack it open, resubmit it to another company that does signature verification, or now you could resend them the CGC. I think they're just trying to do anything at this point to get people to stop paying attention to what they did. In other words, you know, nothing to see over here, look this way. But, I mean, like I said, if they do it the right way, it's a good thing for the community and for people that like to deal with exclusively CGC so they can make the most amount of money possible, which, again, there's nothing wrong with that. But, yeah, I appreciate you giving me that credit, because, like I said, I don't get a lot of credit, and I don't need it. I know when I'm right, and I continuously show on my auctions, even my bad auctions, I'll make $3,000 to $5,000 on a bad auction. On a good auction, I'll make $5,000 to $8,000. So I must be doing something right. So if you want to listen to me, that's great. If you're one of those people that hates me because I do my rants, or I think against the crowd and you don't want to listen to anything I say, I don't care. Whether somebody is successful or failure has nothing to do with me and doesn't affect me. But I'm very glad, GTK Comic, that my advice over the years has helped you, and I hope it continues to help you, because I've never asked for anything from people other than maybe a thumbs up or a subscription. So I appreciate you posting that. Let's get back to the comics, because I got 3 more I'm sending in. This, to me, another no-brainer. This is X-Men number 266. It is a regular edition, but if you notice, and I did a video on a couple of days ago, it has 5 signatures on it. Okay? It's signed by Andy Kubert, Joe Rubinstein, Tom DeFalco, Chris Claremont, and the late, great Stan Lee. So it's got 5 signatures on it. I was asking people, because this is probably between an 8.5 and 9.4. The reason I'm giving it a bigger range is because it has a couple of pressable defects. So I always give a little bit of extra flexibility with that. But I was asking people if they had the opportunity to buy this, because I made a deal with the seller, because you guys know me, I make deals happen, even ones that weren't there. The average person said they'd pay about, like, under $300 for this, which I thought, yeah, would be nice. But, I mean, just the signature alone for Stan Lee, good luck finding this. I ended up paying $426.50. To me, for 5 signatures, and again, I don't just randomly buy a book without checking into things. I've had Andy Kubert sign my books personally. Not this book, obviously. I've seen Joe Rubinstein's. I've seen Chris Claremont's, and I've definitely seen Stan Lee's. So it's easy to match signatures. Now, of course, if somebody's a forger, they can forge something. But when you have this many different signatures with different styles that go exactly to what that artist or writer or whatever his style is, the chances of it being a fake is just minuscule. And I've never had a comic come back that was signed that did not come back verified. Because I do my research. So I don't just buy something just because it says signed. I look at the signatures, I compare it or have knowledge of what that artist or writer or whatever, whoever's signing it, has, what their signature looks like. And if I've never seen their signature before, I'll go to, for example, like a CGC witnessed comic of the yellow label variety and look at a signed signature of somebody and match it. That's how you do things the right way. So if this comes back with all the signatures verified, you think I'm gonna have a problem selling this book for $800-900 plus? Especially with the fact that, in my humble opinion, that Gambit is going to be in Deadpool 3. Now, probably just going to be some quick cameo or something, but mark my words, in my opinion, the scene where they're showing the back end of Wolverine as Patch in that casino scene that they show in the trailer, and there's somebody sitting on the opposite side of him about to deal a card, because you can see the person's hand about to deal, but you cannot see the person. I will be shocked if that person sitting on the opposite end of Patch, aka Wolverine, a variant of Wolverine, is not Gambit. It would shock me if it's not Gambit. Now, we already know that Gambit's in X-Men 97, which arguably is going to be a divisive show because, they got to throw in the DEI stuff. But I would love to see Gambit in his long trench coat and even with the purple outfit, with the romantic 90s version of him with Rogue. Who wouldn't want to see him in a movie with that? This, to me, is another undervalued comic. If you don't own this book, I highly recommend getting it, but don't just pay any price. Get a deal, make deals happen. Like I said, there are many people that said they would not touch this book because of the signatures not being verified. Well, the good thing is, I like people like that, because now I don't have to worry about them outbidding me, or making a better offer, or taking this book from me, because now it's in my collection. And let's just say it comes back a 9.4. Or maybe the pressings get it out so much it's a 9.6. You telling me I can't make a profit off that? Sometimes people do not see the potential of things because they base their investments on their own personal likes and dislikes. I'll give you some advice I've given to people before. If you're trying to make money off of comics or anything, any collection, you are actually better off buying things you cannot stand. Because why? You'll have no attachment to them, and they'll be very easy to sell without seller's remorse. How many people out there, for whatever reason, either traded or had to sell something that they loved to pay some bill or whatever reason, and then the second it's done and they mail it out, they're like, I can't believe I don't own that book or that thing anymore. So actually, buying things that you don't like or don't agree with, if you can get a good deal, makes it very easy to turn around and sell it or trade it for something you do like. So I saw many people leave comments about that book and said, I'd never buy it because I just hate signatures. Well, there are many people, like myself, who love signed books. So if you hate signed books and you could get a good deal on it, how easy would it be for you to get rid of it without having any attachment to it, make some nice amounts of money, and turn around and buy something you love? I mean, the people these days, they base everything so much on their emotions that they just are so blinded and narrow-minded about the potentials of how they can increase their revenue and not have to start out with $1 million bank account. It just blows my mind. But for me, and I'm sure the few others that agree with my style of collecting and investing, are very happy that the majority of people cannot think that way. And their mind just does not process information like me and many others do. And that's seeing the value of that book and where it's headed. Whether I like signatures or not is irrelevant, because I only need one person out there that likes that book that would be willing to spend the money on that book for me to have a successful profit and a successful sale. Stop worrying about the majority of people. I keep telling people, it's like a relationship. If you have been turned down by either men or women, I don't care who you like or what your preference is, as long as it's consenting adults. It doesn't matter if you get rejected 99,000 times. If on the 100,000th time you find the love of your life, do you care about the 999,000 or the 99,000 that did not succeed? People, their thought processes are backwards. You only need one person to buy a book. So it doesn't matter if 99% of the community hated signed books. If one person says, I like that book, I am comfortable with the price the person's selling it for, I'm going to pay it, and I want that book, that's all that matters. I'm trying to change people's thought process so you can be successful without having a $1 million bank account or a trust fund or, married to wealth. Not everybody is wealthy, but that doesn't mean you cannot become, at the very least, prosperous by using small amounts of money and slowly building up. It takes time, but what do we have more of these days? Think about it. Those who agree with it, you can hit the thumbs up. Those who disagree, by all means, hit the thumbs down. Go crazy. Next book up. To me, this is a no-brainer. Always wanted this comic. Was finally able to get it for a reasonable price. And when I tell you this is 9.8 potential, if it comes lower than a 9.6, I'll be shocked. Or maybe it got damaged on the way there. Knock on wood, let's hope that doesn't happen. But normally when I do a higher grade book, I usually say between 9.4 and 9.8. This one I'm predicting 9.6 to 9.8. Now this was Spawn number 1. It's a 1 in 50 variant. I think it came out when I believe it was issue 65 came out as a reprint of number 1. So this did not come out the same year as Spawn number 1. So this is not his first appearance. This is a reprint, but it was a 1 in 50 variant, and only 3,100 copies exist. Now, when I saw this book, they had it for a certain price. We went back and forth. I was able to get the person to sell it to me for $436.26 after eBay taxes and shipping costs. For me, that's a no-brainer for this book. When I got it, it looks so much better than what the images were. Because, sometimes when somebody takes an image on eBay, it's not always completely in focus, or there's a light, and you're not sure if that's a color break or it's a light. So there was actually one reflection that I wasn't sure if it was damage or not, but even if that was damage, I felt that this book was still worth the price I was able to get it for. Ends up, this book looks flawless. So I'm looking forward to it. Now, of course, that doesn't guarantee it's a 9.8. You guys know me. I hate when people look at a book and they're like, oh, how is this not a 9.8? Well, that's because there's a back to it. There could be fingerprints. There could be stains on the edges. There could be a fold in page number 16. There could be some pen mark. There could be a water stain. If you don't open the book and you don't check the whole thing, you can't sit there and look at the front cover, or if it's graded, look on the back cover and say, how is this not a 9.8? If you're that good at grading, go work for a grading company. You want to have me not follow or watch your videos? Do unboxing videos, especially. I see this, unfortunately, the majority of the time with CGC owners. The narcissism when it comes to their ability to think they know how to grade everything perfectly by taking 8 seconds to look at it. And I'm talking, I've seen people that own comic book stores that make YouTube videos. They'll take a look at a book and, oh, how is this not a 9.8? Hello, McFly. They don't grade a book just on its cover. You have to open the whole thing. If there's a fingerprint on it, you could lose a point on a grade. If there's rust on the staple, you could lose a grade. If the staple's a little bit loose on page, on the centerfold, that's going to affect the grade. Stop listening to these people that look at it for 8 seconds and they've all of a sudden become an expert. Well, then work for a grading company and show us how good you think you are. It just troubles me to no end. This is definitely a book to pick up if you can get it. All right, so we're on the last one, so I'm sure some of you will say thank God, because, you know, I can't do a video without some kind of rant. Like it or love it, you know, like it or hate it, it's just my channel. It's just the way I do things. So if you don't like it, I understand, and do the best that you can of watching the 3 or 4 minutes that you could tolerate. But there's plenty of other channels that are going to give you what you want. I don't tell people what they want to hear. I tell people what I think they need to hear, and just share my experience. Whether it resonates with you, that's up to you. Again, this is another one that is a no-brainer for me. Made another deal from the same person I got the one with the 5 signatures. New Mutants 98. Again, it's not the newsstand variant or anything, but it has 4 signatures. It is signed by Tom DeFalco, Fabian Nicieza, forgive me if I mispronounce that, Rob Liefeld, who I always thought was Rob Liefeld, but it's Rob Liefeld, and the late, great Stan Lee once again. $615 I paid for this book. I'm predicting the grade about a 9.2 to 9.6, because again, it has some color breaking, non-color breaking creases. So depending on what the pressing can do will determine how much of a grade that this will be bumped up. But even if it's a 9.0 with these signatures, especially with Stan Lee's, you know, and not for nothing, Rob Liefeld will not sign this book or New Mutants 87 without charging you a poop ton of money. So you have to factor those things in. Remember, Stan Lee's signature probably costs between $1 and $125. I don't know how much Rob Liefeld charges, but let's assume $25. And I don't know if the others charge, but let's assume they charge $15 a piece. You're talking $200 to $250, maybe up to about $300 just in savings of the signatures. Because Stan Lee did not sign for free. When he did back in the days, most of the time it was not on the front cover, because old school signatures used to be on page 1. And that's how sometimes you could tell an old school collector when they say they don't like the signing on the cover, which everybody's entitled to their opinion. But back in the days, and I've had this myself back in the early 90s, where they would open up and write on the bottom on the front page. Problem with that is, if you get your book graded, now you'll never be able to see the signature unless you crack it open. So I like the signatures being on the cover, but that may not be your cup of tea. Everybody collects their own way. There is no wrong way, unless you're being a criminal about something. So those are the 4 books, and obviously white pages for all of these. I'm not sure if I mentioned it, but Werewolf by Night, I predicted about off-white to white, but the others are all white pages. I mean, those are modern books, pretty much, even though I would consider... would they be considered Copper Age? Well, I know Werewolf by Night would be a Bronze Age. I'm not sure if New Mutants 98 is considered the end of Copper Age or the beginning of the modern, but it doesn't really matter. Again, I've seen so many people shy away from books like New Mutants 98 because they say of the print run. How many of the print run, like I've said multiple times, the print run for New Mutants 98 is not as big as people think it is. There was between 225 and 250,000 copies of New Mutants 98 that were published. For the first 20 years, this book was irrelevant. That may be hard to believe for people nowadays, but if you're my age, around my age, and I'm 53, so if you're around my age when this book came out, put in the comment section if you agree or disagree that for the first 15, 20 years of this book, you could find it in a dollar bin and no one wanted it. It was just that irrelevant. Nobody cared about the comic for years. They cared more about New Mutants 87, the first appearance of Cable, anywhere near New Mutants 98. But you can't go by what was, you go by what is. Deadpool is arguably going to be, in my opinion, one of the hotter Marvel characters from this time on. Wolverine would probably do well. Again, it will depend on the actor that plays him. But I think Deadpool, with his popularity, if they do him right and they allow Ryan Reynolds to be Deadpool the way he should be, and they give him that freedom, which it looks like they may have actually done that, he is going to bring a new rise to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And if you don't think that's going to translate into people wanting his books, because remember, every year that goes by, there is a new person that is getting into comics that does not own a New Mutants 98. Okay? So, who cares about the print run when there are going to be more people that want them than not want them? I own about 10 copies of New Mutants 98 at this point. I have one that is a Mark Julas variant, which is only 2% of the print run. I have several of them that are newsstand variants, which are rare. But let's put it this way. How many books, how many New Mutants 98s do you think have 4 signatures on it, including Stan Lee's? Maybe 10? So, I don't care about the full print run because, let's say there was 250,000 and all of them survived. First of all, that's not going to happen because, like I said, for 20 years nobody cared about that book. So how many people threw it away? Or how many people, like me, I had 2 copies of New Mutants 98 that I bought the day they came out. I put both of them in bins that didn't even have a bag and board. I put all my valuable comics back then into bag and boards. Like, for example, at the time, my New Mutants 87 was in a bag and board. I cared so little about New Mutants 98 that I ended up putting them in the bins of the books that were basically never going to amount to anything, did not have bags and boards, and just piled them into giant tubs of comics that I thought were just not going to go anywhere and would end up being dollar bin comics. And I rediscovered them years later when I saw that Deadpool was making a movie back when they were leaking out that that leaked trailer, the leaked trailer. I was like, I remember having those. I wonder if I still have them. And went through my dollar bins of all of my unbagged and board comics and found them. So, how many of them are going to be in high grade? How many of them are going to be newsstand variants that survived in high grade? How many of them are going to be signed? So, for the people that just have that blanket statement of you shouldn't buy this comic because it's got such a high print run, is not thinking about those things. They're not separating the different levels. Yes, you have the base model car. Well, the base model car is not going to be as desirable as the one with everything that's included in it, the sports package and all the other things. There are differences. So I think of this like the car with the sports package. It has all the little bells and whistles that the regular base model does not have. So yes, is there a high print run compared to others? I mean, yeah, especially these days. I mean, these days, if you have like a 30,000 print run, you're doing real well. You know, look at that Ultimate Spider-Man 1. I don't know what the print run was, but it was so, like, overwhelming that people loved it that they had to make like 3, like, I think up 3 prints right away. Think outside the box if you want to succeed. Or go with your usual thing that doesn't work for you. Continue to do the same thing over and over again. I wonder why, you're not getting anywhere. Keep running around in circles. Eventually you should say, all right, I keep seeing the same thing. It's not society's fault. It's not the world's fault. Take responsibility for what you choose to do and what you choose not to do. And understand that once you take responsibility for something that's not working for you and realize what that is, you could potentially change it. So try something different because, as a former president once said, what do you got to lose? So that's my story and I'm sticking to it. Whether you would send these books in or not, if you want to make your case, by all means, put it in the comments section. I bought these because I see the potential and I guarantee you I'm going to make money on them. And I'm trying to inspire you guys to start doing the same. So we got New Mutants 98, first appearance of Deadpool, signed by Stan Lee, Rob Liefeld, Tom DeFalco, and Fabian Nicieza. Again, I'm probably going to butcher that name. Between a 9.2 and a 9.6. Got it for $615. Next up, Spawn #1, the 1 in 50 reprint variant, the black and white variant. Only 3,100 copies in existence. Paid $436.26. Possible 9/8 written all over it. We'll find out once I get it back. Uncanny X-Men, number 266, first appearance of Gambit. Get these books, people. You will not, I mean, unless you overpay, you're not going to be disappointed. But this had 5 signatures. It's signed by Adam Kubert, Joe Robenstein, Stan Lee, Tom DeFalco, and Chris Claremont. Paid $426, between an 8.5 and a 9.4. Again, always depends on the pressings. And PGX does amazing pressings. Last but not least, Werewolf by Night 32. That is not on the comic, and that is not on the comic. That's actually on the bag. They are 2 price tags that somebody ripped off. So this is between a 6.0 and a 7.0. The seller said 6.5, which I really think is probably right. But I always give some leeway because you never know. You know, unless you go over a comic with a fine-tooth comb, you might miss something. But I paid $499.74 for that book. If it comes back a 6.0, 6.5, and it comes back a 7, I'm going to be very happy with that. I mean, I think a 6.5 right now, graded, is probably about a $1,000 book at this point. So, know when you think you've hit the bottom. Don't be a bottom feeder trying to find the exact bottom, because many a times people have done that and they end up missing out. It shoots back up and now they can't get it for any price. Or they're going to have to spend twice as much as they could have if they just said, all right, I've seen it drop a couple of days, couple of weeks, couple of months. It could drop a little bit lower, but I'm thinking it's at the point where people are going to start buying it. That if you start thinking like that and say, this is the point where I think other people might start buying, that's the time to buy. Be careful waiting too long for a bottom because you could miss out. So those are the 4 books. So I'm going to sign off in a minute, but like I said, and I'll post it in the description, go check out and try one of my mystery boxes. The link is now in the live chat, but it's also in the description of this video. I sell comic book mystery boxes. I put good comics in there. They will be packaged safely, securely, and quickly. I send them out all the time, priority mail. If you ever do an unboxing video, let me know, because I love watching unboxing videos. I will subscribe to your channel if I'm not subscribed, and I will also allow you to share the link to your video to hopefully get you some subscribers or not. Before I do the surprise subscriber shout out, remember I'm going to shut this down in a moment, and I'm going to do the video for my 2 EGS books. So that'll be a separate video, so hopefully you'll come back and view that. But let's do today's surprise subscriber shout-outs. And to do that, like I said, you don't have to be a subscriber. You just have to be in the live chat. So, Pino, you're number 1. And Old School MTG JM, you are the second surprise subscriber shout-out. Which means if you have a YouTube channel, you could post a link in the comment section once this video uploads to either a specific video of yours or to your channel itself. I'll leave that up to you. Keep in mind, it does not have to be comic book related, although that will probably work best here. But as long as it's kid friendly, you could do videos about racing cars. You could do videos about skiing, skateboarding, you know, something that's allowed for all ages. I have no problem helping them. I will not promote any porn sites or any kind of prank channels, so keep that in mind. But if you do a cooking channel, as long as it's positive and it's for all ages, I will allow you to share the link. If you don't have a YouTube channel, or you'd rather do a link to one of your social networks, you could post a link to one of those instead. Again, it does not have to be comic book related. It just has to be kid friendly. And last but not least, if you'd prefer to post a link to something you sell, maybe on Amazon, Etsy, eBay, any of those places, once again, it does not have to be comic book related, but it will probably do the best if it is. Again, as long as it's something for all audiences, I will not promote somebody selling lingerie or, you know, adult videos and stuff like that. So if you post the link, it will not show up in the comment section right away. It will go automatically to spam. That is to keep troll accounts from coming and trying to just randomly go in people's videos and post links to businesses that you don't want to be a part of, or, you know, porn sites. So if you see a link in the comment section, it means it has been verified and has been approved for all audiences. So if you see a link, click on it and go support our fellow comic book community. That's how we work together. So shout out to our shout out. I'm going to upload the next video. Again, that's not going to continue from here, so you'll have to refresh, and you'll see a video in about 5 minutes. Hopefully you'll come back and see the 2 books I'm sending to EGS. But in the meantime, I want to thank anybody that was kind enough to hit the like button. I can no longer see who does it, so if you were kind enough to do it, thank you so much. Hit subscribe if you haven't. Just don't hit anybody near you, because that's not nice. And don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, it is not you, it is not I, it is We Love Comics. I'll see you in about 5 minutes, and don't forget to have your trolls spayed or neutered.